Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Thank you for joining me. I am so sorry I'm late. I apologize. It really was not my fault. I had to take a phone call from my mom and help her with something. But I am here. And yeah, we're going to talk. It's been a while. I have no excuses. I just been outside. It's the summertime. Let me know if y'all can hear me okay. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, okay. I see you guys. I see you guys. I miss you guys too. So as you can see, we are going to talk about poor mate selection versus poor dating pool. And we're going to talk about how systemic influence or systemic factors or systemic racism, white supremacy, whatever you want to call it, how it only applies to one gender in the community. And we're going to talk about this Umar Johnson interview with Daily Wrap Up Crew. I'm super late on this. I apologize. It's been a lot going on. I'm not even gonna get into it. Like I said, I'm not even gonna give y'all no excuses. But it's just been a lot going on. But I am back and I know I'm late. But I'm always late on topics, right? But y'all know I had to cover this. So many of you have asked me to react to this video. And so that's what I'm gonna do. Because, I just feel like the manosphere red pill is still lying. And let me tell y'all the reason why I really want to do this. I really want to talk about this because Black women, I feel like, have been conditioned by the Black community to be, how do I want to put this? To think about the collective, to have collective concern, right? And I think it's a woman thing naturally. We're more community minded, we're more communal. We try to bring people together. I know it's a natural thing for women in general, but I do think that with Black women, we are super super heavily conditioned to be very communal. Yeah, doormats, to be mules of the community. We've talked about this in several videos on this channel, right? And so when we tend to talk about the community in these conversations, or just Black people in general, we're extremely um, focused on trying to help the collective. Black women, Black men, Black children. We're not really super individualistic like Black men are, right? Um, but we should be. And I know that's going to be like, a bad take to I don't know, the feminists, the Hotep people, even Umar Johnson, who I'm going to talk about in this video. It's a bad take to the the pro blackity Black people, but in this community, truthfully speaking, like, even the quote unquote community minded Black men are actually individualistic. Truly they are. They're not community minded at all, but they want to put that on you. Your responsibility to be community minded, be community concerned, worried about the collective all the time, worried about fixing the community, how the community is going to get fixed. But then when it comes to Black men, they always talk about how it's not their problem, right? Black women ruin the community with their poor mating choices. It's not our job to fix it, right? They're completely individualistic. And I think as a group of people, no matter what race it is, the group is stronger when the community is on one accord, and when the community looks out for one another and uplifts one another and protects one another, right? You know how they say it takes a village to raise a child and all that stuff, right? That's how it's supposed to be. But in the Black community, that's really one-sided. Black men ain't really worried about no community stuff. It's really only Black women. So when you only have one gender that is focused on bettering the collective of the community, it doesn't really work, because you need more than one gender. You need more than one side, right? And so that is what we're going to talk about today. And I don't know if there's like a copyright on this video. So I am going to just do the audio, because I'm going to do the audio. I'll show you guys a little picture, but I am going to do the audio. And I just want to react to some of what Umar Johnson said, because I think it's very important for Black women to understand, because once you free yourself from this, you know, collective mentality, this community minded mentality. Once you free yourself of that, black women, you will feel so much better. You will have less burden and all that, because I feel like the community is part of this community trick bag where they try to get black women to be super community minded while they're really not, but they're pretending that they are. Right. And so I think that that still needs to be stated, because when I watch some of the reactions to this commentary from Black women in particular, they're still not getting it. So I just want to do my part and just put out my perspective. So let's go ahead and listen to this. Let me know if you guys can hear it okay.
Try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. You understand me? Most of our children are raised by a single mother right now, and it has been that way for about 50 years. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man. You ain't got to work, or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality. We created that. And then we want to act like we didn't play a role.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable. No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection.
Okay, and if y'all heard what he said we have to be accountable because they had a poor selection. And if y'all can't hear it, you're gonna have to turn up the volume on your end because it's loud on my end. Because I played it back on my phone and it's loud. So I don't know if you guys are gonna have to watch the playback or what. Oh, sorry about that. That was an ad. Yeah, some people can hear it. I don't know if that's the iPhone users. No shade. But I can hear it on my end. I got an iPhone. So anyway, but let me first point out that Umar is saying what BWE, a lot of black women in the BWE black empowerment sector have been saying for years, even before I came on. Okay. And you know, I'm not sure. Okay. I do know that black men listen to us. Okay. They listen to us over here in BWE. Okay. Even though I don't really consider myself a part of BWE anymore, whatever, I still use the talking point. So that is why I'm including myself, because I have said this a lot. So have many other women in this space, right? And so Umar, I'm not saying he got a lot of what he's saying from black women, but I do know they listen over here. And I do think that he probably did. They listen, they just don't give us the credit. Okay. Now, um, people always like to say, oh, well, men don't listen to women. I do think that men listen to women. I definitely do. I think they listen more to our actions more than our words. I think the best way to get through to men is to show them what we will and will not tolerate, but they definitely listen. They certainly listen. And I also want to say that Umar is the man that he's complaining about. He is the man he's complaining about. He's not married. Or is he married? I don't think he's married. I didn't even know he had children until this interview. Okay, he has 2 children. As far as I know, he's not married. So it's like you're not even marrying you would be considered, I don't know, a hotep pookie. I don't know. But I just wanted to put that out there. Let me skip this ad.
Saying you're selecting a poor mate. And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one, so of course she's going to end up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as black men are not raising black boys to be the men that our women need. We are.
Okay. So, and here's the thing, right? He is saying what we have been saying this whole time about how the it's not necessary. Well, it's two things, and two things can be true at once, right? We can be choosing poorly as black women, but there's also not much to choose from. There's also a poor dating pool, right? And hence why I titled what it is, right? But here's the thing. Black men, especially black men in the manosphere, You cannot argue that the black community has been fucked up by white supremacy and racism and systemic issues, all that stuff. You can't argue that and then in the same breath say that black women have armies of quality black men to choose from. It doesn't mix, right? You can't say, oh, the community is so fucked up. The white man did this, they did that, and then turn around and say, oh, but black women, you have more than enough quality, perfect black men to choose from. It's not true. So let's continue.
Are not. They out there killing themselves right now. What we doing about it? Unemployed black males. What we doing about it? Pants sagging, weed smoking. What we doing about it? Black men are not raising black boys to be the men our community needs. That is 100% our fault. What I'm saying is she got a right to be angry with us. She got a right to be angry with us. We have not been on our job as black men. If the men are the providers, what have we been providing for our community? I'm not speaking you individually.
Yes.
Because you may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. But guess what? What are we doing for the community? What are we doing for the children who don't have a father? You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she's been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years? And the minute she raised her voice, we say she's not humble enough? She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you telling me you can't see how we created that?
I understand that, but she needs
if we was loving our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
If she's picking Pookie and Ray Ray instead of
you're making her a scapegoat.
No, she's picking a scapegoat.
No.
There's good quality men that they ignore.
Why she even got it? Why is there even a Pookie in the selection?
You gotta ask her that.
No. I'm gonna tell you.
He said you gotta ask her that. As if black women are in this community by themselves. And do you see what I'm saying? And this is how the majority of black men think. This is what y'all black women need to understand. When they think about all the behavior that you have, whether it's your lacking femininity, whether you choose the wrong man to procreate with, whether you wear weave on your head, whether you're obese, all the arguments that black men make, they're not factoring in any systemic issues that may have impacted the way that you are. That only applies to them. Okay? So this is why, people want to call us black male haters, but this is why you have to think twice. Do you really want to bring a black child into this? Because these black men are blaming you for all of the problems in the black community. And as far as Umar is concerned, I think that some of it's pandering. I'm not going to say he doesn't believe everything he's saying, because maybe he does, because, he's more hotep, if you will, or more community focused or whatever. But black women on this side been saying this shit, and we've been dragged because of it. We've been doxxed. We've been harassed. And so we've been saying this. So, it's very clear that Umar has been listening. He's been taking notes, which is a good thing. He needs to get this message out. But at the same time, I want black women to understand this is not going to change black men. They're still going to blame you for everything wrong that happens in the black community. It doesn't matter what it is. They're not going to factor in racism, any of that, when it comes to the choices that you make. Dr. Umar's girlfriend is a light-skinned black woman who almost passes white. And you see what I'm saying? So Umar is full of shit in his own way. He's the same man that he's talking about, which is part of why he knows so much about it.
Tell you why there's a Pookie in the selection. Because black men have abandoned black boys and have allowed social media, white media, athletes, and rappers to raise them. That's why she with Pookie. If we never allowed Pookie to develop, she would not have a Pookie. If we're going to be men, the first thing we got to do is take responsibility for why our women feel the way they feel.
I can hear that.
I'm not saying that they're right to disrespect, because even if a woman disrespects me, right, that still don't give me a right to disrespect her, because she's still the queen of the community. Even if she's not acting like it, I'm going to give her that respect. But when I hear brothers talk like this discourse we having now, we act like we don't understand.
No,
there's reasons for that shit.
I do understand. Women are so valuable. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think women ground men and help them, propel to the next level. I think men get further in life with a woman, right? But if I'm a hardworking man, but I'm only looked at as resources,
okay,
and then she's ready to jump on Tom, Dick, and Harry because he got flash. He's shining a little bit more. His access to money is quicker than mine. It's kind of hard to.
This is what the collective, this is what black men put out there, mind you guys. This is the image that black men put out themselves. I'm not saying that white people didn't push it out there as well, but black men fully participated. And they don't want to take any accountability for the image they put forth. They put forth the drug dealers, the Snoop Dogs, the Dr. Dre's, and all this stuff. That's the image they wanted for the black community. They worked with the white man to put that out there. That is partially their fault. Okay? So where is the accountability here? If that didn't Dr. Umar Johnson just say that the thugs and the D-boys and the rappers and all this stuff are influencing the young black boys? Okay, so whose fault is that? Did the white man put a gun to their head and say, hey, you have to be out here and you have to make this as your image as black men? You have to get on the microphone. You have to be front and center. You have to be promoted this way. Did they put a gun to their head and make them do it? Okay, they put drugs in the community. Did the black men have to take the drugs? See, we can go there. You see what I'm saying? Because this is, and this may sound harsh, right? But this is the same thing they're doing to black women. Oh, Pookie was there. You had mostly 90% of Pookies to choose from, but you didn't choose that one non-Pookie man. But you could have resisted. You could have practiced restraint. You didn't have to do it just because all the Pookies were there. You didn't have to choose them. Okay, so doesn't that same thing apply to them? Why are black women not applying the logic that they have for us to them? And see, this is why I had to do, as late as I am, this is why I had to talk about this, because I don't hear nobody talking about it this way. You're not applying the same logic that they're putting out. Since black women were supposed to have all this restraint, not choose the men in their environment to sleep with, not choose them to date, even though it was 90% of the men in the environment, I would say 99%. Then how come you could not stop yourself from taking drugs that they put in the community? How come you could not stop yourself from succumbing to all of the white supremacy and the systemic factors that influenced you to be a thug? How come you could not resist that? Since we were just supposed to be so strong and resist everything that was around us and all of the influences that made us who we are as black women. These are the questions that black women need to ask.
Have that.
Well, no, one, I agree with you, but that's not all sisters.
No, it's not.
And if you're constantly running into that type of woman,
yeah,
then the problem is you, because you're attracting a certain low vibrational energy. Why is
why
that?
Not that same energy for women? You just again, you have
because
the man
we having a conversation as men.
Yeah,
I got plenty of interviews with all women where I check them too.
Right.
But as a man, you should not be concerned about what I say to them.
Mm.
As men, we should be concerned of what we're going to do to produce a better generation of black males for tomorrow. That's the only that is where we should be focused.
Women bring the choice of life, right? We understand that, right? I can't have a child unless a woman agrees.
She can't carry one if you didn't put it in her.
I agree with that 100% too, right? But whether or not, if you want that child or not, she can still make that decision. It's only.
And see, this is what they go to. It's like, you can't control your seed. You can't stop yourself from fucking a bitch raw. What does that say about you as a man, as a leader, that you can't stop yourself from shooting your semen inside of a vagina without a condom? But you're a leader, you're a grown man, but you can't stop yourself from doing that. And now that because the woman wants to keep the baby, she had all the control. No, you had the first say. And see, their lack of responsibility is not being called into question enough, in my opinion.
You don't put a seed in her, nothing else happens. And no woman can make you put a seed in her. So the original act was the responsibility of a man.
True. I mean, all right. So,
my name is Shannon Knight, and I own.
Let me skip the ad. Hold on.
did black men willingly leave the household, or was it the system that was? It was systemic.
See, you see what I'm saying? You see how it quickly went from individual responsibility to systemic when they're being held accountable. Like, hey, you're responsible for your seed. And then he immediately resorted to systemic factors, right? You see how they switch back and forth? But when it comes to you, you're strictly an individual. You can't talk about systemic factors. So why are you ladies allowing them to talk about it? No. We weren't talking about systemic issues. We talking about you being in control of your own seed, sir. We weren't talking about systemic issues. Why are you switching over to systemic issues and white supremacy?
So how, if we giving them grace for them having to do it without us, but it wasn't our fault, how we not getting that same grace and that same respect? I'm gonna tell you why.
You niggas get that grace all the time. Black men get the grace of blaming everything on white supremacy and the white man. Everything that the black man does wrong is the white man's fault. Everything. Them liking light-skinned women is the white man's fault. Them killing each other is the white man's fault. Them doing drugs is the white man's fault. Them not working is the white man's fault. Everything according to the black man, everything wrong with him is either the white man's fault or his mama's or black women. But they sitting there telling you that you have to be accountable for yourself. Where is there? Can y'all point me to some of these manosphere channels that actually hold black men accountable? That actually don't blame white supremacy and black women for their problems? Can you point to them? But they're always talking about how black women need to be accountable. When are they ever accountable for anything they do wrong?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because black men, as the leaders of the
and let me add, you have black women too. Black women need to be held accountable. We need to get it together. We need to do this. We need to do that. I can count on both hands how many channels there are of black women, red pill black women, or just, quote unquote, fair and balanced black women who are holding other black women accountable. Ladies, we need to do this. We need to be more feminine. We need to do this. We need to do this with the kids. We need to do this. How many channels can you name that are talking like Dr. Umar right now? How many channels can you name that are saying the things that he's actually saying? Yeah, we definitely hold each other accountable, Pink Lady. Exactly. That's my point. I don't see a fraction of the amount of channels that are ran by black men that are telling them to get it together and holding each other accountable. They don't exist. And this is why, ladies, if you are holding out for this community to be fixed, you might as well be holding out for a Wakanda. You might as well be fucking wishing for a Never Never Land. Because it's not going to happen, ladies. D'Ambrosio says, I remember someone saying white men plus black women are made for each other because black men blame everything on white men and black women. Yeah, pretty much. That's a good point. Let's continue.
Community now. We can't be leaders. Here's the question we got to make. Here's the
and look, do you hear what he said? He said, we can't be leaders. Women aren't accepting that. What leader do you know says that? You might as well stop calling yourself a leader. You might as well stop calling yourself a king. Kings take their power. They don't wait on a woman to give it to them. This is some weak shit. This is why black men are such a turnoff. My God. This is like the most, like, if y'all listen to this and your panties just immediately dry up, your vagina just immediately just dries up, something's wrong with you. Because this is some weak nigga shit. This is so, it's just, ew. Who talks like this? This is so unattractive. I don't know about y'all, but this is so unattractive.
Because the argument y'all make, feeds into the feminist agenda. Okay. It's an argument that says, I don't want the responsibility. I'm a leader. I don't want to fix shit. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to fall back and let her run everything. That's what the feminists tell them. They say, look at them, making excuses for why they can't be better men, making excuses for why they can't make better men. You understand?
Mm-hmm. And he said that's what the feminists do, and that's what black men do, which makes them what? Effeminate. Yeah, they're super feminine. And for a woman, a traditionally oriented woman who likes masculine men, traditionally masculine men, oh, this is a huge turnoff. So unsexy.
Your argument feeds the feminist narrative.
That's
It's
not
dangerous.
what we're making
That's not,
excuses
that's
for.
what we're not. I'm saying I am the better man, but
Yeah.
I shouldn't be held responsible because you want to choose a Pookie and a Ray Ray. That's not me. I work too
And
hard
I'm
in my
gonna go
life.
back to what I said. Pookie and Ray Ray shouldn't exist. And the only reason why Pookie and Ray Ray exist because we're not in the community making those boys the men they need to be. Do you see that? And she don't get a Pookie if you didn't allow a Pookie.
But she got an Eli. She ain't come to Eli. She went to Pookie, and that's what we're trying to.
She wouldn't have had a Pookie if we
I
didn't
worked
allow
too
one.
hard in my life.
She wouldn't have had.
And see, he's going back to the individual thing. And here, let me say this, right? Personally, I don't care about childless men refusing to date single mothers. I don't have any children, and I don't want them. So I don't particularly like dating men with kids either. And if he does have them, I prefer them to be older. Like one guy I'm dating now, he does have a kid, but she's grown. So you know what I'm saying. And when you're a little older and you're dating older men, it's kind of a given that they're gonna have children. Most of them anyway. So, but as long as they're not like young children, I'm fine. But and that's one of the benefits of dating men who are older. If they have children, they're usually older kids. You ain't got to worry about them crying. You ain't got to worry about, them coming over and annoying. You don't have to worry about all that, right? And also, usually when you date older men, they aren't really worried about having any more kids. So if you're a woman who doesn't want kids or doesn't want any more kids, that kind of works out in your favor as well. So my gripe is not with the childless men who, don't want to date single mothers, but I do take issue with the black men online conflating childless black men with quote unquote good black men, right? Or automatically labeling black men who, I don't know, have the discipline to not have children recklessly, or black men who got their education, or black men who don't have a criminal record, or black men who have a job. I have an issue with labeling them quote unquote good by default when that's the baseline of what they should be. Okay? That's the baseline. That's what you should already have. Okay? And I do think that any woman or man who had the discipline not to have children by the wrong people, or did the hard work to get a good career or live in a nice home, you should have partners who are equally yoked, right? It's okay to want a partner that has those things or doesn't have kids if you don't have kids, right? That's fine. And if the black man who doesn't have children wants to find his counterpart who doesn't have children and start a family with a woman who doesn't have children, that's fine. Right? But don't just automatically say, oh, because I don't have children, oh, I'm this awesome great man. And all the black men in the community who didn't have children irresponsibly or don't have a criminal record, they're just automatically good men. Or I worked hard, I'm just automatically a good man. Come on now.
Pookie, if we didn't allow one.
Dr. Umar,
Men supposed to make the raise the boys.
Right. We as men is holding other men accountable for the same thing that you're talking about right now.
What are we doing for the young brothers in the street? So
what you mean, mentoring them? Now, I mean, he's a great father.
Mm-hmm. I ain't talking about that's individual. That's good, but that's individualism. Yeah. What are we doing collectively?
And black men are individualists. They're not community minded. They don't give a shit about the community. This is what Umar is. I don't know if he's just looking over it or he doesn't realize that that's the mentality of most black men. They're not community minded. And this is why I stopped being pro-black a long time ago, when I realized that most black men are not community minded. They're not trying to fix anything. It's not going to happen.
As men, to change the trajectory for black boys in the streets right now. Nothing. We're being talking shit.
I don't know why the volume is low for some of y'all, because it's not low on my end.
Yeah, I mean, you could take
it's not going to get better unless we put hands on deck. The reason the athletes and the rappers are the role models is the professional black man moved out the hood. Where the dentist at? He ain't in the black community no more. Where the lawyer at? Where the business owner at? Where your city council person at? We abandon black boys, and then we blame black men for poor choices in mates that they should not even have to make if we did a better job raising our boys the right way. At the end of the day, if I'm going to call myself a man, The ultimate responsibility for reconstruction of the black community rests with me. Yes, they have a role. Yes, they have responsibility. But as a man, as a leader, to say I can't fix this shit unless she changes, that's not the definition of a man.
I don't see. I think we're on two different accords. Like, I don't think we're saying that. What I'm saying is I'm capable of being that leader, that provider. I've worked hard in my life. You get what I'm saying? I should not have to.
You still go back to
okay, and so you should be able to find who you are. And see, this is the thing. I don't understand how all these perfect childless men cannot find a childless woman. We already pulled up the stats in my video. What's it called? Examining the rejection of the good black man or something like that. I'm sure I laid out the stats. There are enough young childless women for, matter of fact, let me pull up that video. Because, you know, there's a lot of people in these YouTube streets that be claiming I'm copying them and I'm getting shit from their channel when I'm the one who actually said it first and they forget who they got it from. It's so strange. So now I guess I'm going to have to pull up receipts to prove that I said something a long time ago that I said. But yeah, we already laid out the stats. And so all this talk about how there's just not enough black women, it's a lie. If you're a childless black man and you can't find a childless black woman that you click with, something might be wrong with you, because there's enough. I'm gonna play the rest of this video while I find this timestamp. Hold on.
But I only feel like we tell black men that we have to now deal with masculine women with children.
Why is she masculine? Because she's had to raise the kids alone, not one woman, so brother. A whole community.
So you mean to tell me the only woman I can look forward in my life is a masculine woman that has kids by other men?
No,
that's what I have to look forward to.
But I'm telling you,
he's making it seem like all he has to choose from is masculine women in the community with children. Are you serious? I can even say, as a dark-skinned black woman, like I can go out tomorrow somewhere and find a black man to date. Like, come on now. Like, are we going to sit here and really act like you don't have any options in the black community, especially with all the black women who love and worship black men? You mean to tell me you can't find one childless black woman to date? That sounds like a you problem, sir.
Mistakes made by black men systemically gave rise to the conditions that.
Yep, Miss G says they want IG models. Men will never be honest. Exactly. The childless women that you want, sir, probably just don't want you. And is it because they want a thug? Maybe not all of them. Maybe some of them, sure. But maybe you're just not, that's out of your league. Maybe you need to choose somebody else. That's another thing these men don't want to admit. A lot of them are searching out of their league. Maybe the IG model with the big booty, that's super fine. Maybe she wants a man with more money and you just don't have it. That don't mean she wants a thug. That don't mean, maybe you're just not what she wants. Maybe you just don't qualify. Aren't they quick to tell black women, maybe you just don't qualify for the man you want? You're too big, you're too fat, you're too ugly, right? So why doesn't that apply to men too? And why would we say it? Do we hate black men? No, this is what you tell us. Stop trying to reach outside of your league. It's the same thing with you.
Allowed her to be masculine and made her end up with a man that you consider to be less than what he should be. And I'm telling you, black men are responsible for her being masculine because we have not helped her raise them children.
I am
and
not.
when I say help them raise them children, I don't mean you as the stepdad.
No,
I mean you as an active member in the community where we go to every single parent black mother and say, how many sons you got? 2? How many sons you got? 2? Well, guess what? That's your son's big brother. That's your son's big brother. He taking them to school. He doing the homework. He gonna spend a couple hours with him every.
And see, you know, maybe this is just me, okay? But I don't even think that. I mean, I hear what Dr. Umar is saying, but if you get a group of men, a group of black men who are serious about community building, why not the childless men get with the childless women in the community, produce children, raise a good crop of children into being productive members in society in the black community, and those be the productive people in the community. Pookie and Ray Ray They gonna procreate with Keisha and I don't know, Shanika. That's just what they're gonna do. That's just what they're gonna do. Every community has, you know, the lower class, uneducated, the lower class community, right? So if you're serious about building, if you're serious about quote unquote fixing the community, why not just start from there? Why not start from building a better generation, a newer generation of Black people? But these men are just so focused about what Keisha and what Shanika's doing in the hood with her male counterpart when you don't even want those women. You don't even want them. And the thing is, and I keep saying this, I've said this in several videos, but what separates Black men from other races of men is other races of men build first and foremost for themselves and for the incentive of running shit and wielding power in their communities and in the world at large. Power is their primary incentive. But with Black men, what is their primary incentive? Their primary incentive is pussy, right? If getting pussy is all that matters, or if it matters to Black men more than them attaining systemic power, then they're never going to build anything. Y'all can forget about it. You can wrap that shit up because it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. But you should want to do it for, first and foremost for yourself. Of men of other races, it's like their incentive is pussy to a certain extent, is women, you know, but they're also very selfish. They first and foremost pursue power for themselves as men. So in order for Black men to even want to do that, they have to have that first. And they don't have that. And because they don't have that, and they know they don't have it, and they're ashamed, who's the next person to blame? Black women. And it's so much easier for Black men to focus on the feminists, to focus on who Shakisha's sleeping with. It's easier for them to focus on that than to explain why they're not pursuing power for themselves first.
Every Saturday, he got his own kids too. But he's going to make time for you. She got masculine because she had to become masculine in order to deal with the rape, the abuse, the domestic violence, the disappointments that men had in her life, and also raising those kids and have to take care of herself all at the same time. The Black woman has been the be all in all in our community for half of a century. And now we want to turn around and say because she didn't do it perfectly enough or remain feminine enough when she had to absorb our responsibilities plus her own, that's insensitive and disingenuous.
I don't believe.
Yeah, I can't.
I mean, I guess
They don't care about that shit. They don't care. They don't care about any of the systemic issues that affect you, Black women. And this is what I'm saying. This is when I turn around and I'm be like, look, is it worth it? To me, it's not worth it to have children if they're going to turn around and blame you for everything that goes wrong with those kids. And I'm coming from a woman. This is coming from a woman that does not want children, so I can't relate to that, you know, strong, burning desire to have children. But if I were y'all, after hearing shit like this, I would not keep giving them niggas babies. I'm sorry, absolutely not.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm not taking nothing back yet to tell me something that we've done systemically to combat that. Because you keep saying me and her. I don't care about me and her.
But there's plenty
women and men. Mm-hmm. Women and men as a group in the community. You understand?
Right.
We gave birth to that. You see? So you say she had a couple kids already because she met men. She probably thought they was good. Some of them, they left her.
She knew they wasn't good.
You don't know that, bro.
She knew they wasn't good.
You're making assumptions about her. Would you make the same assumption?
Mm-hmm. He said she knew that nigga wasn't shit she had babies by. So why did y'all niggas take the drugs that they left in the community? You knew those drugs were bad for you. Why did you take them anyway? Why did you rob those people? Why did you do that when you knew it was bad? Why couldn't you resist all of the outside influences that forced you to do what you did? Why couldn't you resist those since Black women had to?
Assumption if she was a white woman.
Yes, I would.
So you say.
No,
come on, man. Come on.
Listen, like I said, I feel like as a Black man,
we don't hold them all accountable because Black men date outside their race more than every other man put together.
I said we.
Y'all three.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
but
can't disprove that because I don't know you personally.
Even that,
but
if we look at the numbers, black men marry black women at an 87% rate, where black women marry outside of their race.
And this nigga is just stupid. Like, they always get this stat wrong. It's 80% of the black men who actually marry black women. It's not 80% of all black men. And then he's talking about black women date out more or marry out more. That's not true.
They marry outside at a 92%.
Black women do not. No. You're wrong.
That's percentages
You're
apart.
wrong.
That's not that much.
Black women do not marry out the race more than black men.
I'm
That's
not saying that. But the percentages
black
ain't that
women,
far off. That's
black
what I'm saying.
women have one of the.
Oh, he said the percentages are not that far off when they absolutely are. He's retarded.
Highest, fastest growing interracial marriage rates.
Mm-hmm.
But her interracial marriage rate pales in comparison to what black men have been doing interracially for 4 or 5 decades. You understand? She don't even come close to what we're doing interracially. Black fathers are in the home more than any other group or race. Okay. But what that has no value?
And that's a lie too. Oh my God. How can black fathers be in the home more than any other race of women, yet they're online complaining that the women raise the children alone? So that means if black fathers are in the home more than any other group of men, then you have to take some responsibility with how your children are turning out. Do you see how they double talk in this community? Are you niggas there or not? Are black women raising kids on their own or not? If you're in the home more than any other group of men, then it's partially your fault that the kids are turning out how they're turning out, right? Yes or no?
It does have value, but we're going to put that up against the other statistic. 2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. 2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. And like I said, when I say being raised, I'm not saying there needs to be a father. I would like a father in that house. Yeah. But I know it's not enough of us to go around. Yeah. We are not even being accountable to the boys in the hood. And we're complaining about the women. I argue with women who are making babies with the irresponsible men that we didn't raise correctly. That's bullshit. All right. That's wimp ass weak man shit. Take responsibility for our shit. Stop scapegoating them. Yeah, I could agree. I could agree to that. All I'm saying is look at all we can be doing better, man.
See, they don't want to admit that this is their fault. And it's like, if you're the leader, if black men are so pro patriarchy, if they're really trying to be the patriarchs that they claim they are, the kings that they claim they are, if they're really that, then yes, all this shit is your fucking fault. And guess what? It started with slavery. It started when y'all allowed those men, those white males, to put you in chains and put you on that boat. When you lost the war, that's when this shit started. And it's your fault because you are the men and you are the leader. Those are your rules, not mine. Those are your patriarchal rules, not mine. So if that's where it started, then hell yeah, it's your job to fix it if you are the so-called leader of their community. Period. And if all you can do is blame women for that, then you're not the leader that you say you are. Period. So stop calling yourself that. Stop calling yourself leaders. Stop calling yourself kings when you don't want to take accountability and stand in your role as the quote unquote leaders.
Half the black boys in the 4th grade can't read. What black men doing about that systemically?
Not enough.
I know what I'm doing about it. I'm building a school for it, 2 of them. Mm-hmm. But systemically, as black men, what are we doing about that? Nothing. Black boys are the most unemployed teenager in America. What black men doing about that? You kept talking about. Mm-hmm. We letting them raise right before our eyes, and then we want to criticize us for ending up with one when we should have made sure there were none.
Listen, we all got choices. Just like if I choose to live a lifestyle,
you're dealing with individualism. I can't.
That's part of choice.
And see this, and back to it being their fault, right? There's a lot of talk about how the quote unquote good black men are supposed to be the cleanup men, and Umar and all of the women, he got this information from that he's basically repeating in this video. Are trying to put the responsibility on the good black men who didn't create the problem. Today's quote unquote good black men who didn't create the problem. And I don't get the impression in this conversation that the burden to fix the community is solely being placed on what they want to call the good black men, the educated black men, right? I think black women and Umar in particular, he's putting the onus on all black men, including Pookie. All black men are being asked to clean up the community. It's not just one group of black men. Most people aren't singling out one group of black men. Now, like I've said in the past, right? I think that a particular group of black men who came online to file their complaints about black women, they're more present than the Pookies and Ray Rays. So they're the ones that hear the complaints. They exist in higher number online. So it feels like most people are saying that it's up to you solely to fix the community. And I mean, realistically, it would be, them who would fix it because they're the quote unquote good black men. They have all the education, they have all the resources, right? But I don't think when black women in particular come on and file their complaints, I don't think they're talking to just one group of black men. I think they're talking to all of them. You guys, do you agree with me when I say that? I don't think that black women are coming online singling out one group of black men, because I'm seeing all of this talk from these quote unquote educated, well-to-do black men saying it's not my job to clean up, and why are you asking me to clean up Pookie's mess? Black women are talking to all black men. They're not just talking to one group. So I think that's another thing that's being a little bit exaggerated, and I just wanted to point that out.
No, it's not. We have to deal with this systemically. He brought up a question earlier, and he said, did we make these problems on our own, or was there some systemics involved? It was systemics.
Okay.
In 1970, they shut down the factories. They took out the industrial building jobs. 1980, dropped off the crack and the AIDS. 1990, the Bill Clinton crime bill. There's systemic factors at play. You totally divorce your analysis from any systemic factors at all. You ain't mentioned one. You keep talking about her and Pookie and Ray Ray with the kids. You ain't said shit about the systemics. That's exactly what white folks want you to do. That's what white folks want you to do.
I'm saying that I have made
what I've done to you.
And I would argue to Umar, it's not that's just how they are. This is not about what white people want us to do and all of this bullshit. Like, this is how black men are. They don't care about the systemic part until it comes to them. They don't care about how racism, white supremacy, they don't care about how that affected black women. They don't give a shit. They only care about how it affected them.
Women and scapegoat her, because that's what she's doing to you. She's ignoring what the system did to you, and she's going to scapegoat you. And we're both scapegoating each other.
Okay, that's fair.
And see, he's trying to make it equal, like, oh, we're both scapegoating each other. No, black men are scapegoating black women far more than we're doing to them. There are far more women on this very app on YouTube who are willing to say, ladies, you have the power over your body. You can make better choices, including myself. I've said this to black women. I've said this. But we can't say the same for most black men. I can count on 3 fingers how many black men are actually out here like, fellas, you have control over this. You can do this. Ain't got shit to do with white supremacy. You have control over your actions. You have control over your seed. The majority of the black manosphere either wants to blame the system for their problems or black women. Period.
Analysis is feeding the gender war. It's not solving it.
Listen,
I don't mind us holding the women accountable. I don't mind us holding the men accountable.
Right?
Yeah. But when we're going to hold the system accountable as well.
That's fair.
And if we're going to hold the system accountable, that also means we got to make our own systems too. Black men have not.
And see, this is something that they're not going to do. Black men ain't going to make their own systems, their own infrastructure. Why? It goes back to what I said earlier. They don't want it for themselves. They don't want the power for themselves. They don't want it for themselves as men. Like the real leaders in the world. They don't want that. And it shouldn't take pussy as an incentive for them to want that. They should want it for them. And because they don't want it for them, ain't no pussy gonna change that. Ain't no cooperation from black women gonna change that. Because they don't want it for themselves. And this is what I need black women to get through their heads. They don't want it for them. There's no amount of submission. There's no amount of femininity. There's no amount of fit, friendly. What was Kevin Samuel saying? Fit, feminine, friendly. There's no amount of that that's gonna make them pursue power. They have to first want it for themselves. And they don't.
been manly in quite some time when it comes to raising boys.
How would you suggest that black men take on the role of leadership,
especially when there's an attack on black masculinity?
Boom. Serendipity says they want comfort. They don't want power. It's not that deep to them. Exactly. Exactly.
Without women willing to listen to us. You get what I'm saying? How do we prove our worth or take back the leadership
boys? Role? You want the women back? Take care of these damn boys. They run in the hood, killing people at will, flunking out of school, following the lead of the gangster rappers. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can do that ain't got nothing to do with the women, boys and men. Do you understand? Deal with the boys and the men. Leave her out of it and go straight to the boys. And you'll get her respect back. Give them jobs, give them education, give them training, give them your time.
And the argument is, oh, well, if we do that, they not going to cooperate. Yeah, there's always going to be a group of women that rebel and don't cooperate. But please, if black men did that, it's a lot of black women that would have more respect for them. And for them to keep saying, oh, black women wouldn't do this, how do you know? Build something first and then see what happens. You have to do it to see the response from black women. You don't know yet because the collective of you have not done it. That's another thing that's getting on my nerves. Oh, if you build it, they will run. How do you know? What have you built? How do you know the collective of black women will run if you haven't done anything? It's ridiculous.
They're not getting none of that from black men. We don't give a shit about black boys. And then we're going to get mad at her for ending up with one later in life. Like I said, we get product and get mad for her for ending up consuming the product.
She can consume whatever she wants. I'm just saying, as a black man,
it's not about her consuming whatever she wants, brother. Because if we're trying to fix the black community, everybody and everything matters. It's not individual. You're an individualist. You're not thinking as a community. Your whole analysis is based on me and her. Step out of that shit. This is systems at play. You understand?
Right.
Multiple black men screwed up. Multiple black women screwed up. You understand me? Look at the systemic nature and say, what system do we need to create as black men to prevent the Pookie and Ray Ray from coming into existence?
Or I, as a black man, can just look for a woman that is healed, that is leading in her femininity, that doesn't have a child by another woman.
But that doesn't solve community problems. We're talking about community solutions.
And that goes back to what, and this is the end, so we can stop it here. But that goes back to what I said. Like, if that is what he wants, he should be able to find that. And I did find the video, and I'm gonna share my screen, because people want to say, oh, Chrissy's copying us. And she didn't say it, and I said it first. So we're going to pull out the receipts. Now, let me remove that. So the argument is black men don't have enough to choose from. That's the argument, right? Now, I already did this video. This is called Examining the Rejection of Good Black Men. This was to address the narrative that black men don't have enough single, childless, average weight black women to choose from, right? That is the argument, that there's just these hordes of perfect black men in the black community. Even though we just heard Umar say, and we heard the other guys acknowledge, that white supremacy fucked up the black community, yet they're still pretending that there's all of these perfect black men that were produced in this fucked up community, and they just don't have enough wonderful, perfect black women to choose from, when we know that's a fucking lie. Okay, but they claim that there's not enough average weight women, there's not enough childless women. I debunked that already. It's bullshit. So let's listen to this.
And there's also this lie that they've been pushing, saying that most educated black women are dating and marrying street dudes, and that's just not true either. Statistically, educated black women and black men marry before anyone in the community. They marry the most out of all black people, usually because they have more money. And when they do marry, they marry each other. And studies also show that light skinned women marry black women more often than dark skinned women. We all know that since the men usually propose, they are in control of which women get married. You aren't choosing light skinned women to marry first because dark skinned women are rejecting you. You're choosing them because that is who you want to marry. And you know that when you marry light skinned women, you are also marrying dark skinned women. And bear in mind that these percentages are of the black men who actually get married. Over half of black men have never been married. We're not talking about the entire black male population. We're talking about under half of black men, and it could be more because most of these statistics are not up to date. And we know that within that percent of married black men who marry black women, a lot of those quote unquote black women are actually mixed. And so we're supposed to believe that the primary reason that married black men who didn't marry black women, or specifically dark skinned black women, we're supposed to believe is because they all got rejected by black women. Really? After y'all already told us that you don't prefer dark skinned women and you statistically marry light skinned women first? It's not adding up, fellas. It's not adding up. Black men marry out primarily because they want to, not because black women are pushing them over the fence. It's bullshit and it's ridiculous that so many black women are falling for it. Because I saw a black woman actually telling this woman who rejected the nuclear physicist that she's the reason why this guy was going to end up with a white woman. As if there were no other black women in the world that would be interested in him. As if black women weren't trying to get to this man.
I'm surprised that he was even on there pitching to date a black woman, because usually guys like that, especially in the Woodlands, in that area in particular, they're mostly dominated by white women and they go after white women. So after this, I hope that he's not discouraged from dating black women, because I hope there are some that are out there. I believe in black love. So hopefully he still pursue other black women. But a guy like that, like, what?
And you see what I'm talking about? This is exactly what I was talking about earlier, where you're always gonna find multiple black women who are basically spanking other black women on the hand, saying, see, you need to do this so these men won't leave us. You need to do this so these men will pick us. You need to be more feminine. You need to not reject these men, because this is why they're going off to white women, because we're not perfect enough for them. You're always going to have black women who say that. Find me the reverse. Find me the reverse, where you have these hordes of black men telling other black men how they need to be better for black women. They don't exist like that, ladies. They don't. So why are you making a fool of yourself doing this? This is so cringy.
What, I'm not saying this is your fault, but this may discourage him from dating black women because he was embarrassed on a public platform like that. He literally passed up a scientist.
And then come to find out, the guy, the nuclear physicist that she passed up, or quote unquote passed up, he had a girlfriend. He had a girlfriend. So that's what's hilarious. But of course, that didn't go viral, right?
And I'm telling you, within a few years, that a white woman's gonna snatch him up quick.
Attention real estate investors and wholesalers, check this out.
This whole interracial dating fear mongering that the manosphere is doing, this scare tactic they use on black women has been happening for a while, but it became really popular with the rise of Kevin Samuels. And now I see more and more black women are feeding into it. Black women really think that we can stop black men from dating out, when the truth is that these men were already dead set on dating out anyway. There's nothing we can do to stop that. Again, if the baseline with these men who are doing the complaining is black women are less attractive than other groups of women, ain't nothing you can do to change that. Your attitude, your weight, nothing. So it will behoove you to stop begging and chastising other black women who've rejected. It's not going to make them choose you any more than they're doing now. And another argument they make is, oh, well, most black women are fat. High earning black men don't want fat women. And that's why black men date out. That's why black men are going over the fence. Well, let's break down some of the data. According to the IFS study that the manosphere loves to use, 2.5 million black men are in the upper class. Now, we don't know much about these 2.5 million black men. We don't know how many of them have good character. We don't know how many of them are straight and even date women. We don't know their BMI, whether they're average weight, overweight, or obese. We don't know much about them, but I'm just going to go with that number for the purposes of this conversation. Based on this, there are 2.5 million high earning black men. And according to blackdemographics.com, there are 22 million black women and girls in the United States. And when you break that down by age, about 15% of those are black girls under 20 years old. So about 18.7 million are black women aged 20 and over. And according to the CDC, 80% of black women aged 20 and over are overweight and obese. That leaves 20% of black women who are at an average weight or below, which comes out to about 3.7 million black women. That means that those 2.5 million black men in the upper class have around 3.7 million black women who are not overweight or obese to choose from.
Feel free to. Did y'all hear that? The 2.5 million black men in the upper class, these are the quote unquote high value educated black men. They have 3.7 million average to fit weight black women to choose from. Or wait, was that? Yeah, the overweight ones. I forget what I said about the childless women, but they have enough of them too. I think it was 3.8, something like that.
Crunch the numbers yourself and correct me if I'm wrong, but based on my calculations, average weight black women outnumber high earning black men. And when you think about it, it makes sense. One, because high earning black men are in the minority, and two, because there are more black women than black men overall. We also know that the BMI chart is flawed. It's based on average white bodies. And we also know that black men are known to date women of all races that would be considered overweight, depending on how they're built. There are plenty of women who would be considered overweight based on the BMI chart, but because they may have a big butt or big breasts or big legs, they will make the cut for many black men. Let's just be honest here. So I would venture to say that they actually have more than 3.7 million black women to choose from. Now, of course, none of what I'm saying is to deny the obesity crisis among black women. Y'all know I talk about that often on my channel, but that's not what this conversation is about. I am talking about black women who are not overweight. I'm talking about all of the black women that these so-called high-value black men say that there aren't enough of. Now, again, these are just numbers. We don't know much about these women, their character, sexual orientation, etc. Just like we don't know much about the 2.5 million black men. We also don't know how many men and women in these groups live around each other. There are just so many factors to consider. But the point is, if we're going by the numbers alone, these high earning black men have enough average weight black women to choose from if that's what they want. And obviously, because of the internet, people are more accessible than ever right now. Now, the next argument from them will be, well, what about all of the single mothers? And let's look at that. 70% of black women ages 20 to 24 are childless. 41% of black women ages 25 to 29 are childless. And something we would need to look at is how many of those 2.5 million high value black men are in those age groups. We know that there aren't many high value black men who are ages 20 to 29. But the high value black men who are that young are going to have plenty of young, childless, in shape black women to choose from their age group. And something else we don't know is how many of these 2.5 million high earning black men have kids themselves, because over half of black men ages 30 to 39 have children, and they also don't generally start making good money until they're in their 40s and 50s, when most of them already have children. And look, high value black men who are in their 40s and 50s who find themselves single around that time, can they demand a woman with no children? Yeah, they can demand whatever they want when they're that old. But the truth is that young, childless women, black, white, or otherwise, they generally aren't going to be interested in 40 and 50-year-old men, nor men with children, unless they're strictly after their resources.
And see, that is what some of you need to understand. Even though that guy that was talking to Umar Johnson, he did seem like a young guy. But a lot of these men who are complaining about women with children, these are older men. These are older men who, I don't know, somehow couldn't attract the women of their age group when they were young, when they didn't have any children. And so they're now complaining about women who are in their age group or close to their age group having children, when most people of that age, whether it's, 30s, 40s, are going to have children. So you have to understand a lot of that is going on too. And when it comes to these statistics as well, they're comparing younger groups of black men, like before they start having children, um, at age, 30 and 40. They're comparing those black men, the younger black men, to the older group of black women who already have children, because a lot of these age range groups, they don't compare like the same age group, and so that kind of confuses people as well. You get what I'm saying? Like they're comparing black women, for example, ages, I don't know, 18 to 59 to black men ages 18 to 24. You get what I'm saying? So of course, if you compare black men 18 to 24, of course most of them are not going to have children if you compare them to black women ages 18 to 59 or 49 or whatever. So a lot of that is going on too. A lot of these people don't know how to read statistics, and that's a problem too, which is why I did this video and I broke down the stats. But a lot of this, they're just lies. There's enough women in their age group when they are young who don't have children for them to choose from. Why they're not finding them, that could be a them problem. That's the part they don't want to acknowledge.
Which, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I'm pro hypergamy. So more power to those women. You know I'm all about younger women dating older, as long as he's not a predatory, creepy old man. But the problem is black men consider that to be gold digging. So realistically, if these 40 and 50-year-old high value single black men want much younger women, they're going to have to accept that those younger women are likely dating them because they have money. And hey, I call that an exchange. You get her youth and beauty, she gets your resources. Deal. But I'm just speaking on the reality that most women and people in general want to date within their peer group or no more than 5 or 10 years older. And my overall point here is that statistically, high value black men have plenty of black women to choose from when they're young, upperly mobile, or high value, or when they're older and they have children. Because at that point, if you have children and you meet a black woman who has children, so what? Y'all both have children. My mother got with my stepfather, they both had children. Childless people are generally going to want to be with other childless people. It's not an all black woman problem because you just got on your feet at 40 or 50 years old and you can't meet a young childless black woman that wants to date you. That's not an all black woman problem. That's a you problem. And of course, there are other factors to consider when dating someone, such as compatibility between those two people, the quality of the two people, that also matters. But it doesn't just matter with women and black women in this case. It matters with high value men and high value black men. We don't know how many high quality black men are in that 2.5 million. Again, we already know that most of y'all are colorists. Many of you are arrogant. Many of you don't even want marriage. And then your self proclaimed high value spokespersons online, they represent you guys very poorly. So you're just not going to be able to sell me or any other smart black women on the idea that you're not dating or marrying black women because they are rejecting you. No. And something else with the high value conversation, and I've talked about this before, but a lot of this is about class. There are black people, both men and women, who didn't quite fit the mold of popular black culture and have been rejected by other black people. And that's how they end up dating white or other non black people. Some of them were also raised around non black people.
Okay, so you can go back and watch this video. Again, it's called as Examining the Rejection of Quote Unquote Good Black Men. It got some pretty good views, over 100K. I did this last year, June 24th, 2022. Gave all of the sources to my stats. So yeah, you can go look at that and see what I'm talking about. But it's like, I don't know. These conversations are becoming very, very circular at this point, and black men are still lying. And it's like, after we've already, women in these conversations have already debunked a lot of the talking points. And so, I just wanted to come on here and give a refresher and let you guys know that these men are still lying. They're not telling the truth. And just like Melanated Vessel said, they've been caught including 15-year-old black boys in the stat. Exactly. Of course, 15-year-old black boys are going to have, or are not going to have children. Of course, they're going to be childless, right? And so it's like this, that's the kind of stuff that they do. And you really need to clock it when it happens. And, I just think that when it comes to a lot of these black men online, right, who have degrees, who have good jobs, they like to hide their bad behavior behind Pookie and Ray Ray's, right? They like to hide behind the black men who are worse than them so that their bullshit gets to fly under the radar. That is a lot of what's happening here, because I want you guys to remember, a lot of the quote unquote good black men who have professional jobs, who have no kids, who are online, talking all this shit, they're also online disparaging black women. They're also online harassing black women, doxing black women, stalking black women. Literally, it happened to me. Okay? Most of these men in these conversations are not quote unquote good black men by any stretch of the imagination. It doesn't matter if they don't have kids. So all of this, it's this percentage of black men who don't have kids, that doesn't make them good black men. And not to mention how colorist and self-hating these men are. And so even if there were a million more of these quote unquote good black men, and the black women who chose Pookie chose you instead, there will still be some serious problems with those relationships. It just wouldn't be Pookie problems, right? And this is the conversation these men online don't want to have. And we just keep coming back around to the same Pookie and Ray Ray conversation, poor mate selection conversation. And nobody's really fleshing it all the way out and being honest about it. And I think the black men who got rejected by the black women they wanted, all these incels online, the educated nerds or quote unquote lames or whatever, who don't have a criminal record, and haven't done anything individually to a black woman, I think because they are the primary ones that come online to file their complaints about black women, they exist in higher number online. So what they're doing is they're inflating the number of them that actually exist in the black community. That is what they're, or look, they're just lying. They're just in denial and lying about how many of them exist in the black community. But I'll say what I said earlier. You can't say in one breath that white supremacy destroyed the black community and then in the next claim that there are all of these perfect black men that exist and they don't have enough black women. No, we're equally fucked up. And that's what y'all don't want to admit. You can't say in one breath that these educated black men are rare and they're unicorns, right? You can't say they're unicorns in one breath and then in the next claim that black women are just overlooking hordes of these good black men and choosing the bad ones to sleep with and have babies with. No. How does that work, y'all? How are these quote unquote good black men, these educated black men, these high value black men, how are they unicorns and most of the community at the same time? Tell me how that works. Can somebody explain to me how these men are unicorns and it's a million of them that black women are passing up? It's not adding up. And that's how like I don't understand how we're still having these conversations and y'all are letting these men get away with these nonsensical talking points. The truth is that the Pookies and Ray Rays, they are the majority in the black community, just like their female counterparts are. There's more ghetto black women who come from the inner city or come from poverty or poor working class. There's more of those women and men than higher class suburban black men and women. So guess what? Those groups of people are naturally going to mate with each other. It's not rocket science. They're naturally going to be together. What do you expect? But I'm tired of black men online acting like black women have always had these armies of good black men. And I know it's not true because I come from the inner city. I grew up in the inner city. I know just how few of those quote unquote unicorn black men exist and come out of that environment. Pookie and Ray Ray are the majority, whether they have children or not. That's another thing. They can still be a Pookie and Ray Ray without kids. What about those men? Like, why are we automatically? It's just so weird to me how these conversations go. Oh, because you don't have kids as a black man and you have a job, you're not a Pookie and Ray Ray. As if as if there are no Pookies and Ray Rays without kids. How are y'all allowing these men to do this and not pushing back on it? Like how I just I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I swear I do. It just doesn't make any sense. So because you don't have kids as a black man, you're automatically perfect and you're not a pookie? There are no childless pookies. There are no childless drug dealers. There are no childless thugs. There are no childless criminal black men. I mean, what is going on? Y'all letting them get away with these talking points that don't make sense? I grew up in the hood, y'all. And I will say, even from the hood, most of the black men who grew up and are considered to be good black men, they're reformed pookies. They still came from the same place. You have more actual reformed pookies than you do, the educated, quote unquote, good black men that came from money or that grew up upper middle class or something like that. There are actually more reformed pookies than that. And so it's like, what are we doing here? Like, what these conversations don't make any. And see, this is why black women, you need to get out the matrix. You need to get out of this community minded way of thinking. Truly, because you will be on a hamster wheel trying to like meet these expectations that are completely unrealistic from these black men. And when it comes to this whole Pookie and Ray Ray conversation, I will never forget how black men, including Kevin Samuels, if y'all remember this, do you remember how black men online praised Jeannie Mai for getting with Young Jeezy? Who what? Answer it in the comment section. What is Young Jeezy? Wouldn't he be considered a Pookie? Hello? Wouldn't he be considered a Pookie? But I will never forget how the manosphere praised her for getting with him. But those same men admonished and still admonish black women for getting with the very same men. So that's another thing you have to consider, and it's a lot of bullshit with these conversations. The race of woman, that changes the definition of who's a good black man and a bad black man as well. If it's a non-black woman who gets with the Pookie, especially if he has money, then it's cool. When Jeannie Mai got with Jeezy, these so-called educated lames, they were clapping their hands and praising. See that black women, these non-black women is taking your men. They taking your men. So Jeannie Mai is praised for getting a Pookie, but the black women who grow up in the very same environment that Jeezy did, y'all are disparaging them for getting with the men in their community, like Jeezy when they grew up there. Tell me, does that make any fucking sense? When they're the primary men in that environment. So you expect the black women who are raised around Pookie not to choose them, but Jeannie Mai gets a pat on the back and praise for choosing one? How does that work? This is why these conversations make no sense. Black women, you need to get out the matrix and stop listening to these niggas, because they will have you chasing your tail like a goddamn dog. They don't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah, exactly. Mooncat says a lot of black men, regardless of status, identify with Pookie. That's another thing that they're doing that they don't want to admit. How many black men identified with that dude? What's his name? That 14-year-old black boy just unalived, defending his mama. What about him? Yep, Jay-Z. They identify with so many Pookies. Yep, they defend Pookie behavior every chance that they get. Exactly. Yet they want black women not to choose them. And don't let us refuse to march for one if they get unalived by the police. Then they telling us we hate black men. Oh, but I thought that was a Pookie though. I thought that was the men we're supposed to hate. I thought that was the type of man that we're supposed to avoid. Why are you mad because we don't want to support Pookie? I thought you didn't identify with him. Jeremy Brown is his name. That 14-year-old boy that unalived Jeremy Brown because he was hitting on his mama in that food place. There was all kind of videos in defense of Jeremy Brown. Y'all remember that? That just happened. And that's another thing. Notice how that 14-year-old boy, that unalived Jeremy Brown, he was just a child, right? He was just a child. And why did his mama influence him to do that? But when 14-year-old black girls are getting fucked by grown men in the community, oh, they're old enough to know what they're doing. Right? It's okay for the community to have black girls on the front lines fighting against white supremacy when they can barely walk. They're barely 2 feet tall. It's okay to put them out there. It's okay for them to draw, make them in little paintings and drawings going up against white male law enforcement for black men. It's okay to draw little black girls like that. But when a 14-year-old black boy unalives a man for beating on his mama, he's just a little boy. He's just a little boy that needs protection. And see, this is what I'm saying. This community has completely different rules for children, completely different rules for black people based on the gender. And this is why it does not benefit black women to be pro-black. It does not benefit you to be community minded. You need to be more individual like black men, period. And that was my point of this. That's my whole point of this video. That needs to be the takeaway. You need to be more individualistic like black men, period. They don't give a shit about the community. They don't give a shit about the systemic factors that influence your behavior. That only applies to them. So why are you still community minded? For what? It does not benefit you in any way, any shape or form. So you need to start listening to these men and choose better. Yeah, save yourself. It's all about self-preservation. Because you know what? These men, they're going to save themselves for sure. They're going to put themselves first for sure. They're going to make themselves a priority in a minute. So you need to do the same. And you know, some of you black men online that are mad that black women are finally choosing better, you need to deal with that. It doesn't matter that the older generations of black women didn't require black men to build or provide or protect. Okay, we do. We do now. The younger generations are going to require that. The younger generations are going to require that you bring something to the table. More than swag, more than your nice personality, more than your sense of humor. They require more now. Deal with it. Y'all said you wanted black women to choose better. Well, it has to start somewhere, and it's starting now. So be careful what you ask for. You know, and it's interesting that when black women go to actually choose better or encourage younger black women to choose better, then the goalpost moves, right? Then it's, oh, well, you black women didn't want this before, so you shouldn't want it now. No. And what they're basically trying to do is get black women to settle like we always have. Well, it's a new day. There are more and more black women who are requiring more, and you're going to have to deal with that. And see, what it proves is what I've been saying during this whole live. Black men are just full of shit. The choose better argument is just being used to shame black women. You don't actually expect black women to do that. But black women are doing that, especially younger black women. There's finally a lot of black women pulling away, deciding not to have children by black men, or women like myself who just don't want them at all, never did. And black women are slowly waking up. It's happening, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you know, another argument I've been hearing, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to wrap this up because it's been over an hour. But another argument I've been hearing from the black men online, and I've heard it for a while, especially when this conversation about Pookie and Ray Ray comes up. They're basically saying that younger black men are being blamed for what they didn't contribute to. Oh, we didn't do this. Our forefathers did this. We didn't fuck up the community. These are young black men in their 20s. Well, young black women are being blamed for what they didn't contribute to as well. Today's black women are being fucking harassed online for shit they didn't even do. For a feminist movement they didn't even participate in. For babies we didn't even fucking have. We're being our feet are being held to the fire for that shit. And we didn't have nothing to do with it. How many times are we told that black women taking welfare and following white women's feminist movement is what destroyed the black family? We're always being told that as black women. The younger black women today, we had nothing to do with that. So yeah, if we have to answer for that, then yeah, today's black men, you are going to be reminded of what your forefathers did wrong. You are going to be blamed for that. If it's only about blaming older generations of black people, then y'all need to stop crying to younger black women who didn't create these problems in the black community. Y'all need to stop crying to us because we didn't do it. And black men, you can reach back in the 80s and the 60s and the 70s and even prior to that and get mad at what black women were doing during that time and blame everything they did on younger black women today who had nothing to do with it. But somehow y'all can do that, but black women can't be mad at today's black men for what your forefathers did and how they dropped the ball. How does that work? Like I said, y'all, there are completely different a different set of rules for black women, which is why I'm just done with the so-called community. I don't even have any hard feelings. What gets on my nerves is the lying and how they're still manipulating black women. But I'm done with y'all. I'm over it. And black women, you need to be over it too. Just to, if nothing else, to get a piece of mind. Cause like I said, I mean, when I peek in here, I'm not online like I used to be. But when I peek in, it's like, what the hell? It's not funny, but sometimes I just gotta laugh. I'm like, are y'all really saying this on the internet? Like, are y'all really still doing this? And it's just like these circles, this round and round conversation, circular conversation that's going nowhere. And it's pointless, y'all. It's pointless. And I don't even see why y'all allow these men to manipulate you. And I'm doing it for the young girls. Hopefully I'm helping y'all get out the matrix. That's all I can say. And I'm glad I came online because otherwise I would have still been stuck on, trying to fix the community. And oh my God, I'm so thankful that I decided to do YouTube so I could really learn how black men were and how this community thinks. Because I mean, I was in the dark too. I was delusional too at first. I was a part of that crowd that just, conditioned, thinking that black men actually wanted to fix something, thinking that, we were all in this together. But no, I was wrong. And if I can help one girl out of that conditioning, if I can decondition her mind and get her on the right path, then I've done my job. If I can help one more girl, because I still see y'all, I'm still seeing these women under these comment sections just delusional as ever. And I'm like, oh my God, I had to talk about this. And I'm late as usual, but Oh, thank you guys. I'm glad I helped somebody. I'm just, cuz it's just disgusting. It's disgusting what I be seeing out on these internet streets. And there's some more that I want to talk about. Hopefully I'll be able to come on again later on this week and discuss some hot topics. Because there's some other stuff that I want to say that I've been seeing that I haven't got a chance to talk about. I don't know if you guys, some of you in the Midwest, you know that we just got a really, really bad storm. I forget what they call those storms, but it has like the same impact as like a hurricane and a tornado. I forget the name of the storm. It starts with a D. D something. Damn, I forget the name of it. Um, but I had some family members over the last few days, and so I had to deal with that because I was trying to get on here earlier to talk to you guys about this, but I couldn't. So, um, yeah, Derico, however you pronounce it. Yep, that's the name of it. Yeah, it was a really, really bad storm here. So I'm just now getting it back together. I'm also, yeah, I did see that Destiny. I want to talk about that too. Like I said, I'm going to try to do another live later on this week and do some hot topics and come on here and talk about it. The Diva says you've helped us older women as well. That's what's up. That's great. It's never too late to learn. It's never too late to walk away. It's never too late. I'm a firm believer that it's never too late to get away from this toxic community. Cause they be lying to black women, y'all. They are such liars, and it's just so disgusting. So I hope you guys learned something in this live. It's gonna stay up. I am still working on Chrissy VIP content that will be out later this month. I'm adding some new features to the site, chrissyonline.com. Get on the mailing list if you want to be notified of new VIP videos. The links are in the description box. Nina, I already talked about Dr. Umar. You're gonna have to rewind, honey. I've been on here an hour and a half, honey. I'm about to get off here. But the video will stay up. And hopefully I will see you guys later on this week. Let me know what else you want to talk about, and we can do that. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for sticking with me. You're going to get more content soon. Love you. Good night.